World War II, also known as the Second World War, was a global war that lasted from 1939 to 1945. Although related conflicts began earlier, it involved the vast majority of the world's countries, including all of the great powers, eventually forming two opposing military alliances: the Allies, which consisted of the United States, Russia, Britain, and France, and the Axis powers, which consisted of Germany, Italy, and Japan. It was the most widespread war in history and directly involved more than 100 million people from over 30 countries. How World War II started. World War II began on the 1st of September in 1939, and it was started by Adolf Hitler and Germany in an unprovoked attack on Poland. Britain and France then declared war on Germany after Hitler had refused to stop his invasion of Poland. How the United States got involved in World War II. The United States were a relatively neutral country in World War II for the first 2 years, but then, on December 7, 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. FDR said, "This will be a day that will forever live in infamy." This eventually led to the United States entering World War II. Important battles in World War II. There were many battles in World War II, but that doesn't mean that all of them were important. Some are important because of how long they lasted, some are important because of the amount of casualties that occurred, and some are important because they are considered turning points in the war. The bloodiest battle in World War II was the Battle of Stalingrad, which lasted August 23, 1942 to February 2, 1943. This battle estimated around 1,798,619 casualties. The Battle of Stalingrad, which saw Hitler's major push for dominance on the Eastern Front, was marked by terrible losses on both sides. The Russians alone had over 1 million men wounded or killed. Barring their ability to conquer Moscow in the previous year, the war had generally been progressing well for the Germans up until this point, with valuable successes in North Africa and Europe. However, previously unseen brutality and crippling losses devastated the German offensive and severely dented their confidence. Once their Romanian and Italian allies had been eliminated, the Germans found themselves surrounded in Stalingrad, vulnerable and starving in the rubble to which the Luftwaffe had reduced the city. Some would argue that the Germans never fully recovered from this most destructive battles, one of the bloodiest of all time. The longest battle of World War II was the Battle of the Atlantic. It began immediately upon the British declaration of war against Germany in September of 1939 and ended with Germany's surrender to the Allies in May of 1945. During those 6 years, thousands of ships were sunk and tens of thousands of men were killed in the Atlantic Ocean. The battle pitted Allied merchant and supply ships, along with their escorts, against German submarines, aircraft, and surface raiders. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill said of the Battle of the Atlantic, "If everything elsewhere on land, sea, and air depended ultimately on the outcome of this battle, the end of World War II. World War II officially ended with the formal surrender of Japan on September 2nd, 1945, after the United States dropped Hiroshima and Nagasaki on Japan. Those two bombs killed over 100,000 people. The Allies offered Japan a chance to surrender prior to the bombs dropping, but they had refused. Germany had already surrendered to the Allies on May 8th of 1945.